That's it. The little blue bar is there to say that we are live. Today is Tuesday, the 25th of September, 2018. Oh, we've just lost Flat Earth Dude. He'll be back. Astral's here. Patricia's here. And so far, Mike Helmick's here. But I've just renamed him. Oh, there's Flat Earth Dude. Flat Earth Dude is here. I've just renamed Mike. He's the Torch Man. Hello? Everybody's muted.
Yeah, hello. Hi, Mike. Hello, everybody. Nice to see you all.
Greetings, everybody. We are live coming to you with some amazing information from the Sun and Moon Group. And thank you for joining us. Mike here with all Karen's guests. So, amen.
Hey, I just said, no, you're the Torch Man now.
Yeah, because the moon looks like a, well, it's a flashlight in the United States. But yes, the moon looks like a torch from above. Filtered, we know it's a projection on top of our atmosphere that the light waves from the moon have to propagate not only through our atmosphere, but through our own electromagnetic field. So that's what we were talking about before we started the live feed, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because you slipped that picture in one night and I was like, oh, wow.
Right. But, Karen B, right? She found the same thing when she did her sunspot experiments. And the thing is, the moon flips 180 degrees depending on what hemisphere you're standing in it, right? And so if you were like to take Stellarum and start north and head towards the moon, you notice the moon starts to rotate. And so that tells us it's not a physical object in space, because all of us is maybe driven towards mountains, and the mountains certainly don't start to rotate in our camera. And so that tells us that the moon, the light from the moon, is propagating through a polarized field. And as we change positions in that polarized field, rotation will appear to occur, even though the moon itself is not rotating.
In the past, I've heard people say that when the sun sort of gets, it's the same sort of thing I'm asking about with the moon, but the sun gets to like its equinox thingy in the sky, right? You know, the midday thing. And then a lot of people are saying that, say there's sunspots, when it actually is going over their head, the sunspots flip round the other side. So what do you reckon that's about then?
Well, as the sun travels above us, arcing 15 degrees away from us, depending on what hemisphere we're standing in, our electromagnetic field is in bands. And if you've seen an electromagnetic field map, we have a positive and negative. In between that are bands. At the equator center, both the positive and negative both get weakened until you start going more south or more north. And so what we're seeing is, as the sun's moving through these bands, that light from the sun, a positive magnetic wave, is coming through a polarized field, and it just appears to be rotating, and the sunspots appear to rotate what Karen B's observation was, about like an hour hand. Now, if you view the sun from the southern hemisphere, that the sunspots will flip and reverse on the other side, just like we see the moon. And so all we're seeing is light propagating through a polarized field. And when I say polarized, it's the light's coming through a positive or it's coming through a negative.
Thing is this, when you say Karen B spotted it, are they watching it happen and twisting? But the ones I've seen, it just flips without you seeing it. It's just done it.
Well, it kind of depends on where you're standing. Does it flip a full 180 degrees? When I was observing the moon, and Dave Marsh has a lot of excellent observations of the moon. The moon, it doesn't flip a full 180 degrees traveling east and west, okay? The flip only occurs if we switch hemispheres. Now, if we're near the equator, all right, then we see more of a rotational turn to 180 degrees, simply because both fields weaken at that point before one is a positive and then one becomes a negative.
Just asking you, Mike, we're not quite sure how far up that moon is, although right now it doesn't particularly, I can see it out my window right now, it doesn't particularly that high in the sky, not as high as it can be. But when something's up in the sky, what it can see below, like pan out, is going to be much bigger, isn't it? the pan out from that bit, where however high it is in the sky, how far do you reckon people will be able to see that? Because it's not very. I'm just wondering if it's there for me. Really, people in Scotland are seeing that just like that. It's here. My window.
Everybody's view is going to be a little bit different. Where you're at, the temperature is a little bit different. The atmospheric density is a little bit different. And so we're in the magnetic field. The place in the magnetic field you're standing in is going to be slightly different. And so they're going to see a different moon than what you see. And we discussed this before. You know, when the sun is setting over water, we each get our little sun ray on the water. And yours is different than somebody standing maybe 10 feet away from you. But that's simply because you're in slightly different positions in a magnetic field, which light has to propagate through. And so you're viewing that light propagation from slightly different places. All right. Even David Weiss, Ditra, he noticed the same thing with his neighbor. They took pictures of the moon and they were different, even though they were only about 10 miles away and they were in Ohio. So it's all has to do with the way light propagates through a polarized field. And it has to do with the light being magnified in our atmosphere, because when the moon hits our atmosphere, there's a magnification effect.
It was really enormous yesterday, like frighteningly enormous. When it was coming across that first bit, it was enormous.
Right. And no matter how much our atmosphere does magnify that, what we see is not an object that's 239,000 miles away. Now, I don't know what that is in kilometers off the top of my head, but the moon is not does not appear to be far away at all.
No. Also, I'm getting a message through. Did you see that little video that we did that was on there about the rainbow? With the cloud at the end, the clouds were coming through the rainbow. Not sure if I've ever noticed that myself, with a rainbow with the clouds coming through it. I'm saying it's not very high up, is it, then?
Explain your observation, because, you know, rainbows are, once again, projected light, and rainbows are kind of mysterious. I don't even think science has fully explained, you know, the secular sciences has fully explained the effects of rainbows. But we do know that they're displayed differently depending on where we're standing. And you never can find the end of those things, because that's where the pot of gold is, right?
Yeah, you're not allowed to have the pot of gold, are you? Yeah, did you we've also put one out. I asked the person if I could mirror it with the train in the tunnel, and like in 6 minutes they'd done 39 kilometers.
Okay, so describe that.
Well, there's no bending or arcing, and yeah, it looked like they were going warp speed at 500 kilometers an hour. Everything's whizzing past so fast, it's just a blur. I think that what it is he's in the train, whoever is taking it, and they're actually filming the back of their seat, which is obviously, it's a test run. So they're seeing it through the back of their seats. So it's a little bit grey, but the actual video, but the train is, there's no arcing or bending. It just goes straight.
It's a maglev train, Mike, if you haven't seen it. And I think they just get up to 500 kilometers an hour, or miles an hour, whatever it was. I can't remember now. And then they're more or less cruising speed, and then they've got to start slowing down. It takes forever to slow down. Yeah, man.
It took 9 kilometers to slow down.
Right. Well, no, I haven't seen that. Now, I did see your video when you went to that hill, that mountain, or whatever that is you were by, and you were talking about how the hill looks different from a distance as the hill would look up close, and you were making observations there.
Yeah, that was really weird, because Enslaved by No Media talks about that a lot. And, you know, I took on board what he said. But when you actually see it for yourself, it was like at the car park, you would have never, ever believed that there was a field in between it and where the people were standing. And then GoPro Flat Earth Darb, he took a few pictures to show as he got closer to the people, the pyramid got smaller. And yet
Right.
at the top part, we were going, look at the size of the pyramid from here. We were a distance, maybe quarter of a mile, maybe getting on for half a mile, but we weren't that far away from it. It was weird, really, when you actually see it for yourself.
Right. And so the what you call a pyramid changed size,
Yeah.
and when it shouldn't have. And my suggestion to you was that that pyramid is most likely giving off a magnetic signature of some type that is changing the way light waves propagate to the pyramid and back to your camera. And then you said, well, yeah, Crow 777 said about the same thing. So
Slave by No Media talks about it.
Yeah, and so it's very interesting how a magnetic field can change our perspective and what we see because of light. Because all light, it's a wave frequency. It's not a particle. It's not a photon. Nobody's even seen a photon. It's a light frequency that has to propagate through a field, and it's very interesting. Your observations, Karen, on what you were seeing and the cause, understanding why you were seeing what you were seeing, because it was totally strange unless we understand electromagnetism and the way light works.
Yeah, but isn't that strange then? Well, I think my thing is, so how do we not know that this is not happening with the moon and the sun? See, the same thing is happening with them.
Well, the exact same thing's happening with the moon and the sun. Yeah, I think it was posted on your group on Facebook that individual posted a picture from New Jersey, the moon, and we see stars where the moon should be. We're seeing through the moon, right? Dave Marsh, and I talked to Dave Marsh about this. He's photographed the moon for a full year every single day, and not one time did he ever get stars to propagate or be seen through the moon. And that's why Dave.
Know what that is, though, Mike, because again, I sent it to you again, didn't I, with the balloon going tonight, and the stars are lower, so they're not behind the moon; they're in front of the moon. They're in front of the black disky thing on the moon. They're in front because they're not very far away.
Right. Well, our perception of distance up in the sky is going to be totally misconstrued. We generally think of stars farther away than the moon. They may not be. They may not be. We may be totally wrong. But our general perception is normally we can't see through the moon. That was Dave Marsh's explanation. That's why, if you notice, Dave and I kind of got on this. They need evidence that show it, and we demanded the raw image of that moon photo. Remember that?
Yeah.
And I was kind of rude to the guy, but I wanted the raw camera data so I could see if he faked it, to see if he used his camera to overlay star images in it, and you can check that in the metadata of a JPEG. And so once we got a hold of that, and then once I compared his stars to Dave Marsh's stars and other digital photography stars, I realized, wait a second, these are stars being seen through a moon, and the moon is supposedly supposed to be solid according to the heliocentric model. And so then, and so now we have to come up with an explanation of that. So I started doing history research and found out that the astronomy way back, in England and stuff, real astronomy, they noticed the Jupiter propagation through the moon. They also noticed Pleiades through the moon. And this is when science could be real and tell the truth. They weren't filtered by our media and the propaganda that science is filtered through today. They were being honest. Hey, we saw stars through the moon, even way back in the 1800s. And so now I had to come up with an explanation, simply because Dave Marsh could never get this phenomena in all his photography of every day of the moon. And I realized it's really dependent upon our electromagnetic field and the atmosphere, where the wave bands, because our electromagnetic field constantly fluctuates. Okay, it's constantly moving. All right, each pole has two poles, as you know, which series mapped and which we've seen by the Google CIA data. Each pole has the North Pole has two poles and the South Pole has two poles. And depending on how that field is moving and wavering, at times it'll cut off the full projection of the moon, and we'll be able to see through it.
Hey, Mike, I don't know whether you've heard, but supposedly there's an expedition happening this Thursday. Have you heard about it? Going to the edge. No,
I haven't. Who's on that expedition?
Just for people that did notice, a few people noticed that Des has had his Facebook deleted or closed down. But
Darren Nesbitt? Is that Darren Nesbitt?
His name is Des Walsh.
Okay, Des Walsh. Okay, wrong guy.
About 50 people are off on Thursday. They reckon they're going to do it all in 3 days. They've got some flat earth scientists going. They've got people like who are accountants, whatever it is. He listed them before Facebook blocked him. On there I saw that they said they've raised nearly £1 million. It's been going for 3 years, but they've just they only come out very recently because they don't want anything to ruin it. Of course, they've been blocked on Facebook, but it looks like Des is coming on for about an hour tomorrow night to talk about it. And so we wish him well, and we just hope that for Flat Earth that something good happens. We kind of need something, don't we? Right now.
So are we going to find the edge? My answer to that, based on what I know, is probably not. Okay, and as you know, as you see from my avatar, I'm not a supporter of the azimuthal equidistance. But what is beyond the North and South Pole? Remember, Admiral Byrd told the Santiago newspapers that in the next World War, planes will be flying over both sides, over both the North and South Pole. Robert Bassano, he busted out the 30 nuclear subs under ice situated in McMurdo. Okay, so what is the strategic purposes of having 30 nuclear subs in McMurdo? Why are they there? It makes absolutely no sense unless you get a sense that maybe somehow the North and South Pole are somehow connected. And NASA's mentioned this before. NASA has come out with an article saying that the North and South Pole, even though they're 13,000 kilometers apart, or maybe miles, I forget what they said, but even though they're so far apart that even the weather patterns are teleconnected in some way. So, NASA always gives us hint to things, they hint about things. And so I'm not convinced that we will get to any edge, and if the Earth is as free energy stated, it's in a big magnetic toroidal field. And magnetic toroidal fields can repeat, or we can be in the same position everywhere at once. I doubt we're going to get a edge effect. Now, what could happen is you can travel so far, and all of a sudden you get these auroras up in the air, and gravity doesn't start working. So-called gravity doesn't start working like it used to, and you realize that, hey, we have to turn back. And supposedly that was Admiral Byrd's position when they tried to go across center of the North Pole and had to come back. So I don't know. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, sorry, I was muted. Yeah, I asked him because obviously once you see all these different maps and information, it's probably quite magnetical up there. He did say that he was going to be wearing different clothes, but he didn't want to say very much. I mean, everybody can poo-poo it, and yeah, it does sound maybe a bit weird when you don't know that much, but they're going to just have to go, aren't they? And just pray that they get there and they tell us the truth if they do. But I also think that he said he reckons it's going to taper out and there'll be some kind of ice wall, but it won't be what you think it is. And things like that. So, they're supposed to be scientists. But I just wondered, what happens then? There's the edge. Oh, the light just immediately stops. I mean, I don't know if we'd be able to envisage it or see it, would we? Would we be able to comprehend it?
Once again, we don't know. Even traveling straight north towards the center, they still had sunlight way back. So, we don't know. And who's going with them? That's the concern of mine. Is this a hoax trip? I'd really feel more confident if somebody.
he listed it all, Mike. He's put
Well,
it all in Facebook, but unfortunately it's been deleted, hasn't it now?
Yeah, well, being deleted doesn't mean anything because we know Alex Jones. We know there is controlled opposition, out with Alex Jones suddenly being deleted from everything. I'm not buying into all that. I think it's controlled opposition. They want to make it think like, oh yeah, they're stopping the truth, but really, what is the truth? Everything is so deceptive, and I would feel a lot more comfortable with somebody like Jaron or Bob Nodal or Mark Sargent or somebody reputable in the flat Earth community were actually going with them, and they had their own pilot, okay, and monitoring what the other pilots are doing. I would be more comfortable with that.
He has listed the people, and there's about 50 people going, but they're not saying where they're going or how it's all going to do it, so that they do need to get it out on some kind of social media while it's happening, if they get that far. But again, how do we not know they're not going to get stopped? Before
Are they going north or south?
They're not telling us.
That we can consider. I mean, absolutely way too much to consider. Where it's just impossible, absolutely impossible. Where they're going to, I mean, we shouldn't even think about it, really.
All right, Flat Earth, you broke up.
The only good thing is that they're not making us wait 6 months or something. This will be over by the end of this weekend.
Well, we know the problem with trying to get over the South Pole. We know it's highly regulated. So if they're planning to fly directly center South Pole, I'm very curious how they got the permits and the ability to do that. The North Pole, not so much. NASA doesn't seem to be so concerned about the North Pole, but we do have the dew line that monitors the North Pole. So I don't know.
I've been watching a few of your hangouts as well, Mike.
Well, mostly I've been doing scripture teaching hangouts, not flat earth stuff, but amen. Thank you, Karen.
I like what you said there about that the churches don't like the spiritual side of, they just don't like the gifts. They don't see those. That's evil almost, but they're gifts. They're given to you. So yeah, I like the fact that you did say that.
I appreciate that. Yeah, we've been talking about the power of the Holy Spirit, the power of the name of Jesus, and the things to come. They're setting up 5G towers everywhere, and I suspect Europe is probably going to be targeted first. There's something about Europe that the people in Europe are somehow more controlled than they are in the United States, and it's kind of weird. But even Austin Bennett, California person running for the California Senate, even said that all of Europe's weather is right now by weather control. And so when I'm listening to you, Karen, about, oh yeah, this weird is in the sky and that's in the sky, and I'm saying, oh my God, Austin Bennett's correct. Yeah, Austin Bennett's correct. So somehow the people in Europe, I don't know you guys' laws, but in the United States, they're trying to clamp us down and having a little harder time doing it because, of course, we can carry guns and stuff still, and they have been trying to take our guns away. I know in Europe you can't just carry a gun on your side, but in the United States you can get a permit to do that. And so I don't know. It's very interesting. This whole weather control, the 5G towers that are going up. Who's it's going to affect and who it's going to hurt first. I know in Russia, they set up a bunch of 5G towers and the nearby towns contracted yellow fever, and once again, 5G towers are going to broadcast at 60 gigahertz. Those are microwaves. Now, microwaves are harmless, folks. Okay. They're harmless unless you increase the power behind the microwave. And the microwaves only travel at a certain frequency. Okay, they're not dangerous, but if you increase the power of a low range frequency, and a low range frequency will vibrate and affect material objects. So your microwave in your home is microwaving things, boiling water at 2.45 gigahertz. They are planning to put towers in our streets broadcasting at 60 gigahertz, and that is a problem. It's going to cause
in the open.
Yeah, it's already happening. It's going to cause cellular changes. Okay. Those microwaves are going to affect your organs. They're going to cause diseases. Even our Navy, the Navy came out with a medical document of what the radio waves and microwaves cause on the human body. And the list of sicknesses and diseases is long, folks. So yeah, a lot of interesting things coming in our future.
Yeah, I made a little video myself. I came across somebody that was obviously protesting, you know, got their own website, says do not put near children or people. There it all is. I filmed one outside this college where I work. It's there a few roofs away. And then you turn to the right and there's the BT mask on top of this horrible, the ugliest building in Newbury. They can't knock it down because the BT phone exchange is there. It's ugly with these things on the top, just there, right there.
Exactly. And so, you know, you're going to be able to, you get next to one of these 5G towers, you'll be able to cook your dinner right next to these 5G towers. I mean, it's free.
Cook me up a hot dog there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, seriously, you could get a stick and just roast your hot dog in front of one of these 5G towers. It's ridiculous.
Roast some marshmallows.
Exactly.
What about a Faraday cage hat? What do you think of that?
Well, a Faraday cage, you know, all a Faraday cage is it's basically to simplify, it's mesh wire, and
Right.
so you can pad your walls and home with this mesh wire. And microwaves go at a certain wavelength, and what this Faraday cage does is break up those wavelengths and stop the concentration of the microwave. And that's what a Faraday cage does. And they actually use Faraday cages in rooms that are doing gamma rays or doing microwave stuff to protect what's in the cage from the microwaves. So that's what a Faraday cage does. And it's probably your best bet if they get really out of line with these microwaves.
Yeah.
And, you know, the thing is, go ahead.
Is it that they're actually dropping HARP on us but not telling us? They're actually bringing it even closer to the buildings now rather than... Because what's HARP then? Hi, CC.
Hey, Karen, how you doing?
If Mike hasn't met you, Mike Helmick, CC, Mike Helmick, Flat Earth Dude, Patricia and Astral are here. And the chat room.
Hey, Mike, what's going...
Yeah, hi, CC. Nice to see you again.
Hey, what's going on, buddy? How you doing, guys? I was hoping to do this out of my car, but it's flooding rain here in New York, and all the highways are pretty much flooded. It's just great.
We're just hanging out, talking about Faraday cages right now.
Yeah, no, I was
asking what HARP then.
Yeah, I've been listening. Yeah, I've been listening about the moon, that you were talking about the moon before, and you know, and how large it was. I noticed that I think it was last night when I was driving home. It was just enormous. I mean, and it wasn't, you know, sometimes they call it a harvest moon or something like that, or they'll call it something seasonal. Back in the 1800s, they would use that size of the moon, but this was just out of the blue. They didn't even mention that it was going to be this large, and it was right about the time it was rising up. I think it was maybe about, I don't know, 6:30, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, somewhere around there. But it was pretty big. It was enormous.
Yeah,
CC, have you left your in?
Bloody.
Sorry, CC.
That's what I thought when I saw it. But anyway, carry on, Astral.
Oh, it sounded like CC had left his indicator on. I'm sorry, brother. It sounded like that. Or something tapping.
You can hear me all right, right? Because I'm in my car. I got my headset on.
Yeah, I think Astral was saying that he could hear your indicator.
Oh, you can hear it's pouring rain here. It's unbelievable. My camera on. My camera does not seem to be wanting to go on for some reason or another. Let me try it again. But I mean, it's just been raining on and off here for, I would say, a quarter of the summer in New York. And I will go 7 or 6 days with just milky cloud, on and off rain. You don't even see the sun.
Sounds like England.
Yeah, it is. It is. Basically, it's England, you know? I mean, it's unbelievable what the weather's been like around here. We've gotten so much rain in the last couple of months. Very unusual. Of course, they've been spraying up there with the sky just as much as they always do. So, who knows? Who really knows? And, when you talk about those towers, I've been seeing towers go up all over Westchester County. That's where I live. And at a very high rate, too. And typically they're on entrances to highways, main arteries in the area, main roads that are in the area. They just put a huge one up, and they knocked down 4 or 5 buildings that were abandoned anyway. But they replaced it with this huge tower that's got all sorts of, God knows what's on these things. It's like something from Star Trek, I always say. And they have 2 really big barns, by them, which is pumping this electricity into this tower. And we don't know what the hell these things are. Hell, you can't even build a barn in the backyard of my house that I grew up in without getting a permit through the town, and it would take months to get it because it's a permanent structure. They wouldn't even let you do that. Meanwhile, they're putting these things all over the place, and we don't know what the hell they're doing. We really don't.
No, we don't.
Can I say something? Did anyone hear about the story about the Australian gentleman who took it upon himself to destroy a load of these towers?
Oh God, he must have went to. How long is he in jail for?
Well, he did time. Yeah, he did. I think over a year, and he didn't regret doing it. Okay, the jail time.
I don't blame him.
But he was an engineer. He fitted these towers, and that
was
the
he built
reason
them
why
too.
he did it, because he understood the danger behind them. He knew all about it, and the word is out there on the internet for people that are interested. Look into it, because they are dangerous, and we need to, let people know so that we can at least do something. So don't turn them on, for God's sake.
Yeah, that's the problem. Nobody's saying anything about them. They're just allowing these things, and some of them are really close to houses. You could see them in your backyard in some cases, and nobody's saying a thing about it. It really is. It's amazing how indoctrinated and trained and how well the system works to keep us just in the dark and not caring about anything anymore. It's just amazing how it works. It really has worked well here in New York. Nobody stands up for themselves. Nobody asks any questions to Congress or asks any questions to authoritative figures or anything like that. They do what they want now.
So CC sees them going up near him. What about you, Mike? Do you see more towers going up?
Where I'm at, no. And let me explain to you about the spraying in the towers. Okay, first of all, this has been going on since 1989. Okay, so they're spraying barium, chromium, and supposedly aluminum. All right, so the barium.
Can I just? Can I add also strontium?
Yeah, go ahead.
Strontium.
Strontium added to that?
Okay. Is that a helicopter?
Strontium. I have to look that up. Yeah, strontium. Okay, barium, strontium, aluminum, and chromium. All right, so barium is a magnetic particulate that's radioactive. Okay, so it's harmless. Okay, radiation is on a wave frequency that passes through us. Okay, this is why nuclear weapons are a hoax. Gamma radiation is a hoax because these wave frequencies are so close together that they pass through without touching organs. Think about sound waves. If you have a low sound, we listen to it. It's okay. It doesn't hurt our eardrums. But if we crank up that sound, if we add gigahertz, if we add power to that sound, it's on a low wave frequency. It can break glass and fracture eardrums. Microwaves are just above that. All right. And what microwaves do, if you crank up the power on microwaves, you start vibrating things and causing damage. That's how you can boil water with microwaves. So the barium, what the barium is used for, it's like an insulator. So places like where you live, Karen, New York, Ohio and Detroit, Chicago, you're going to see a lot of spraying in populated places because they have towers all over the place. And what the barium does is the barium limits the range of these microwave frequencies. Okay, because these frequencies only have a certain range, and so some of them are on the same bands. And so what the barium does, it separates them by area, and so they're not interfering with one another. That's what the barium is. Okay, the aluminum, I have no clue. Aluminum is a poison. It's toxic to humans. Why they would spray aluminum, no idea. Chromium, no idea. Chromium has nothing to do with our cell phones or getting 4 or 5G. Chromium, if you heat to 38 degrees Celsius, creates a magnetic field. Okay? Once that magnetic field is created by chromium, you can manipulate that magnetic field to control weather. All right, that's what chromium's good for. And so these are the different chemicals being sprayed to control different things.
And surely affecting our weather.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these things morph into the skies are covered all the time. I mean, these things they morph right in front of your eyes. They're one little single line, and then you look back up 20 minutes later. These things are 30, 40, 50 miles long. There's another one right down here that's combining it, and the whole. When we saw the solar eclipse, there was a low populated area, and there are actually no towers up there at all except at the ski mountains, and that's the only place that they have them. The cell phone works very poorly up there. But right when that solar eclipse happened, they started hitting the skies over and over and over again. Now I could see it fairly well, but I mean, the moon does not affect the eclipse, and I tell people this all the time. That is a separate light source. It has nothing to do with the sun. It's amazing that they started covering the skies right around that time, almost like they didn't want us to see it. However, in other areas of the U.S., people could see it, and they were taping it, videotaping it. And but I just want to throw that in there.
Yeah, I think Mike probably still has quite nice skies where he is in California, but we don't. Well, we did this summer, but we don't generally we just get these grey and then chemtrails in with it. And, grey.
Well, I'm in Illinois, so I'm in the middle of the United States. But yeah, the eclipse, NASA sprayed barium all over the freaking place. And our guess is simply that NASA is trying to figure out crap for themselves. See, barium in our electromagnetic field, they can trace the lines of the magnetic field, and they can see what's going on. They know that a physical object did not block the sun. Okay, they know that, and so they're probably more than likely trying to figure out things themselves. That's our guess on that, why they sprayed all the barium all over the freaking place. But we believe that the sun and moon, I believe it was the moon. I just believe it was a magnetic cancellation of positive and negative. And some believe it was Rahu and Kintu, and people get into mythology and crazy stuff. But I think there's a more reasonable scientific explanation for it. They did two diverse polar magnetics crossed each other and canceled each other out. That's what we believe.
Yeah, I mean, everybody has their own opinion. I mean, that's the thing about this. We all know that the Earth is flat. We just don't know what's around us, and that's what we're trying to figure out. And that's why it's really good that everybody comes together and throws in their idea in the hat, so we can try to make sense of everything that's going around us at least, because we don't even know truly, what we live on, if it's round, if it's a square, if it's rectangular. I mean, you mentioned something about the people going somewhere to the out to the edge or whatever they call it. They're not going to go any. It's too restricted. I mean, unless if they're going to the North Pole, I think there's just as much restriction up there. I mean, they've signed all these treaties. They've signed all of this to prevent us from. Sure.
Interrupt you, CC. Sorry, we don't know anything, do we? And this treaty. What do we know about that? I mean, that could all be a ploy. That could all be make-believe and a little fairy tale. Not being disrespectful to you, but I'm just using my own thought pattern that I can't trust anything I hear, anything I see, and you know.
Try to go down there. It's all restricted. I mean, you can't plan. First off, you have to go through a chaperone to even get down there. They only let you go to certain places. You can't walk around. You want to take pictures with the penguin? Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Take pictures with the penguin. That's about as far as you're going to get. You're not going to go anywhere else. You can't take a chopper down there. I can't take a helicopter down there with me. I can't fly around in a plane down there. I mean, it has been restricted. It's locked. We can't. A civilian cannot go down there unless if you're part of the military. You are not free to do whatever you want down there. Whether these treaties exist, I don't know. I see them on paper and I look at them. Everybody signed them. Can I take my yacht down there is my question. And yeah, I could probably get there and to look at it, but I'm not going to be able to get off it and crank up a helicopter and fly around, or a plane or anything like that and fly around. And that's what I mean. A regular civilian, when they plan these trips and they save up for this, I don't think they're really going to get it, unfortunately. And it's mind-boggling because we don't know what's there. We don't know what's there. Is it insurance, or is it something else? They locked it up.
About the North, do they? We don't really hear the same about the North, like you can't go there. I know we can't, but they don't talk about that the same as they talk about Antarctica, that you can only get on in 3 places and it's so locked down. They don't really talk about the North, do they?
No, they don't. But Santa Claus is up there, so everybody thinks Santa Claus is up there. They immediately put it out of their mind. They're like, yeah, exactly. That's what turns everybody's head off. That hell, come on. There's nothing up there's nothing there, in the North Pole. But nobody concentrates on that. I want to go there. I want to check out what's over there. Is it connected? You were talking about this before. Is all of this connected, and is this all part of the ring that's around us? Because that would be an interesting expedition, but I don't know what the deal is up there either. I really haven't done any research on the North Pole.
The good thing about the going is, instead of making us wait 6 months or something, that we're getting the money, they're going on Thursday.
Mm-hmm. Do they know where they're going?
2 to 3 days. They won't say.
Okay.
Same with Mike when he came on, they won't say, but you don't blame them, do you? Oh yes, they're going right there. Arrested.
Well, we're going to take the number 14 bus up Chatsworth Road.
Did you get your pass?
I just want to take their passport with them. Maybe they've got to take their passport.
Yeah, that's right. They better. Yeah, now in New York, we have to get. I think it's 2020 or something like that. We have to get a totally new driver. And, it's got to have a star on top of it.
What's that?
Sounds like a washing machine.
It's Mike. He's playing something.
Oh, okay.
I'm not playing anything. I'm cool.
Oh, okay. I don't know. It got really noisy then. Sorry, CC. What were you saying?
Oh no, I was just telling everybody about the new driver's license we're going to have to get. It's almost going to be like a passport.
Mike's got to get one, or is it different in your state to Mike's state? Have you got to get one of these then, Mike?
I think it's federally mandated because it's the way our transportation system works. It's on the federal level, so yeah.
Well, it's probably in the next stage or something. And you were talking about like guns. I don't really like guns, but I do understand that they can't really move forward in America in a sense because so many people have got guns. If the people felt that they were going to be like whatever, loads of people will be fighting back because they've all got guns. But if you've made the people put their guns down, then you can get to them easier, can't you? So that's what all this is about. But it's just, I
Right.
don't like guns.
We are the only country left. Australia, they convinced those folks to give up their guns. Of course, we know in many parts of Europe, even your police force do not carry guns. And America is still armed. And that's a big problem for the what people would consider the NWO or the shadow government, Jesuit order, or Illuminati, however you want to say it. It's a big problem for them.
You got guns here in Denmark, and they have guns also in Norway and Sweden. And a lot of police in the UK carry guns, airports especially.
So the citizens need to be armed. The whole purpose of guns was to protect ourselves from a corrupt government. That's the whole purpose of carrying weapons. Because the government can...
We've grown up, right? We grew up where the bobbies had sticks, basically. And I remember going to Spain, and there was a police officer, like right in front of me, and there he is with a gun in his holster. It's like, ooh. But now a lot of our police have it. We never used to have this. They used to have a stick, a truncheon, whatever they're called. But now a lot of them have guns. Maybe not your local bobby, but they do. There's a lot of places that have guns. It's like, well, we never used to have that.
And that would be concerning.
Yeah, I was going to say a lot of the police departments around here in New York actually have SWAT cars. You know, these are armored cars, not like what you see that carry money back and forth to the bank. I mean, these things are heavy duty, out of Mad Max movie. And not only that, I mean, in the city, on occasion, if there's a threat, you'll see these cops down in Times Square with what looks like to me AK-47s or assault rifles just sitting there on each corner. You know, you never used to see that 20 years ago.
In America, the way the vehicles are, it's beginning to look very military-like, isn't it, as the vehicles?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's changed a considerable amount. I mean, everything has changed. It's everything. Movies, everything has really just taken a turn for the worst as far as I'm concerned. I mean, it looks bleak. But hey, look, flat.
We lost him. That's too bad. They must have got him. He was giving too much information.
Right in the middle of speaking, and we've lost Cece. He'll be back. But yeah, what's your take? Because a lot of people, I'm not saying people in England don't have guns. There's probably more than you know have guns, but it's not, I don't know. You don't look around the streets thinking, oh, they've all got guns, but you lot do.
Yeah, we got guns. My brother carries his gun wherever he goes. In Texas, you can have guns on your holster. I think in Missouri also. You can have them showing. But the powers to be, through false flag events of the U.S. government, are trying to make arguments to remove weapons from American citizens. And granted, not everybody should have access to a gun. I mean, we've seen that scenario play out. But on the whole, I fully believe that disarming people is a sign of things to come.
Especially as it's kind of been in your constitution from the beginning.
Right. Yeah, we supposedly have the right to bear arms, and they want to regulate those rights. And there's a new law that just came into being where now they can decide if somebody's mentally stable enough to carry a gun. And so that's up to their discretion. It goes before a judge. Person unstable, then supposedly they can come and take your weapons. So I'm wondering what they consider to be unstable. Somebody saying that the earth is flat, somebody saying that they're trying to kill us with the 5G towers and chemtrails, somebody that's saying they're using geoengineering to modify our foods to make us sick or more susceptible to something else. I mean, what are they considering somebody who's unstable? And that's a big concern. They're passing these laws that they're playing off to the public as to protect the public. But in reality, I'm wondering if they're just passing these laws to eventually get the guns from those that will oppose what is wrong and oppose what the government's doing.
That's a good question. It's a good statement. I mean, look, there's no way they can tell anybody who's unstable. I mean, it's just they come up with these fake shootings and all, and then they tie this kid in who grew up playing video games for 20 years, a millennial. I mean, it's just that, again, they're making these laws to take all of our rights away from us. And look, you're not going to be able to do anything. There are too many guns here in New York. There are too many people there are too many people that own guns. You are going to have to go and have, they're going to have to go to house, and it's just they can't do it. There's really no way they control it. I think it's just more nonsense for people to argue about, talk about, and be confused about, and taking their mind off of what should be really investigated. And again, look, I mean, they came up with all this nonsense. I mean, there's probably only like 15, maybe 80 people that run this entire world, and the only way to keep billions of people controlled is confusion, and having them fighting amongst each other all the time. And that really does, it works. It works well. It worked for me.
Me and Astral were talking about that before everybody came on the panel, that it's just everything's about confusion.
Yeah, it really is. And I mean, when you wake up and you see everything, around you, and you really do. And that's why it's frustrating trying to wake up other people when they're just so lost. I just can't believe how lost I was. I mean, I was there too, so I understand it. But some people are just so difficult to get through to, talking to them. It's
and I do understand when talking about dares, like for instance, a lot of people might think, oh, that's a load of rubbish, but we've only got to wait till Sunday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If not before. If miraculously at the edge, he can still do some social media. I mean, I thought, what, you can get a signal right at the edge. I just don't know how it's going to work, but at least we've only got to wait till Sunday for something.
Yeah, no, definitely. No, I'm interested. Does he have a YouTube channel, or what is he? How are they going to broadcast this?
And Facebook blocked him today.
Oh, there's no doubt he's definitely being blocked. How are they getting down? I don't even know anything about how they tell us, how they're getting down there, and
they're not telling. They didn't say whether it's up or down. They just said that he's coming back tomorrow, hopefully with Dr. Kelly, for about an hour to talk about it a bit more. But he'll only say so much. You can't blame them, really, can you? It's best not to say anything as much as possible, as long as they can record it all.
Yeah, no, I agree. I would keep my mouth shut until I actually got down there.
What? This will all be over in a couple of days.
Yeah. Tune in, CC.
Well, yeah.
And to be honest,
we broke up.
We could do with some really good bits of news or some different news, and it's better than all the infighting and all the crap that's going on. But he's been there for 3 years, and it's been a project. So I'm glad they probably kept it quiet. And we'll see. We'll just have to see, won't we?
I'll be watching. I definitely will. I don't have Facebook, but I'm sure to get to YouTube somehow or another.
Yeah, maybe through Sun and Moon. But I mean, I know that Mike quite likes free anarchy, don't you, Mike? So when you think about all that, maybe it's going to be, if they get there or anywhere near, it's going to be a shock for all of us.
Yeah, I like Free Energy's work. I do have his book. It's not released yet. Unfortunately, I can't talk about what's in his book. But he describes the 24-hour sun both in the North and South Pole. He describes the repeating field Earth. And everything he says about Earth makes sense and lines up with our current electromagnetic field. And he uses science. Now, the only thing that I have an issue with Free Energy is that he doesn't tell us his sources. How does he know these things? But here's the other thing. He has posted the first flat Earth repeating Earth video in 2014. All right, that's before flat Earth really even took off. he knew things back then, even then, that we're figuring out now. And so he won't reveal his sources. And I do talk to him from time to time. He just posted on one of my videos this week. It was a scripture video, but hopefully he'll be able to come out and explain to us more how he knows what he aims to know. That's what I'm saying.
He's free energy. It looks like free energy, but instead of an E in the middle, it's an A. And he does quite, he blew my mind anyway.
Right, and so what he says makes sense. The azimuthal equidistance, as you can see, I have a line through my avatar. The azimuthal equidistance, it's a great flat Earth symbol. If you want to use it on T-shirts and stuff, fine. But it's an impossibility to be a Earth map in any way, shape, or form on many levels, not only scripturally, but on observations and scientifically. And so, but then again, we know there's no Earth curvature, so we are still wanting the full answers on how our Earth works, the place we live on, with the scientific explanation behind that. And I believe that will come. Remember, we've only been into this, 4 years, and the heliocentric models had how long? And we're learning more and more and more. Because if you remember, when we first started, we were using heliocentric sciences still to figure things out, like 7 or 5 layers of atmosphere, Well, we realized there's no 5 layers of atmosphere. There's no thermosphere. There's no Van Allen radiation belts. And so as we've grown and understood more and more, we're fighting through all the misinformation and trying to find things that were true, which we found out were not true later on. And so I think we're in a good place right now. We just need more breakthroughs, and they are coming.
Yeah, I think a lot of flat earthers, right, who have a model, a lot of them are standing back and saying, okay, maybe I just won't have a model right now. But I don't, Dave Marsh doesn't mind, but Dave Marsh set out to prove the circle map, and all he did was disprove it. His work did not match up to the circle map, and he was a circle map person, but he doesn't go with a shape anymore. It's just that his work did not match up to that map, like Mike's showing.
Yeah, Dave Marsh's observation was that the moon and sun actually travel slower the southern end and the northern end than they do in the equatorial center. So his observation was that the circle map was an impossibility. Well, if that's the circle map's an impossibility, or a projection from center map like the azimuthal equidistance or Gleason's, if those are an impossibility, then what the heck is Earth? And I'll tell you what the heck is Earth. There is no curvature rate, period, at the given diameter they tell us the Earth is. And remember, they believe Earth is a spinning ball. We know it can't be spinning. That's impossible. And we know there is no curvature rate at their given diameter. But we also know that there's nothing outside of the North or South Pole. No plane crosses North or Pole Center ever. Okay, and that was brought to my attention a few years ago by concave earthers. And I realized, wait a minute, nothing's crossing North Pole Center. Why is that? Okay, on a projection map, things would be able to cross North Pole Center. They don't. Okay, so we know that much. We know it's equidistance. We have free energies work, and so we got some ideas. We know it's all based on electromagnetism now. We know it's not based on quantum mechanics, string theory, or even the theory of relativity. We know that. And so once again, we're going to start, we're going to get more information. We're going to get our breakthrough, and we're going to understand how Earth operates, how things function, how the sun and moon move above us. And we're going to get all that information. But we've only been doing this for 4 years, so we're getting there.
Yeah, we probably have moved forward quite fast, considering this is the people doing it. There's NASA and all these other big bodies of people. And what about those observatories, those great big telescopes, all lying to us?
Yeah, I mean, you can just go out and get a commercial telescope anywhere and take better pictures than NASA. I mean, you should be able to zoom in on the moon that's supposedly 250,000 miles away from us and onto a crater. I can't even zoom in on on a mountain that's 70 or 80 miles per 70 or 80 miles away to a bird. You shouldn't be able to do that to something like that. I mean, it's remarkable. So that says something about the space agencies, that with all their money, I could go out and get a 10-inch telescope and get pretty much the same pictures that they have, because whatever's up there is not, it's not far away at all. And I know you mentioned that earlier. It really isn't. And
we were talking about this yesterday, Cece. It's a bit like everybody's looking at the television, but for some reason, some of us have sort of seen behind the television, which is a bit like that picture they have of Enoch, looking behind the veil, like we're seeing something else that they just don't see.
They do. I don't know. I'm not gonna. What we were talking about, with the flight tracker, that kind of really almost didn't really. That wasn't the tipping edge for me yet, but it was an eye opener where these planes are disappearing. Not only are they not going where they should be going, but they're disappearing, over the ocean. You follow something from Spain to the U.S., it's gone, and then it reappears 2 or 3 hours before the thing is supposed to land. Just starting people off at that, so they look at that, and it's on any flight tracker. I've downloaded 4 or 5 flight tracker apps. It's not only flight tracker, it's other ones too. And just follow them. I tell people to look at that. I tell people to investigate. But then when I come back to see them in a week or 5 days, I get very little. So they're not doing their homework. They're just too consumed with life, and they don't want to be bothered. Some people just are happy living where they are told that they live, so it's really, they're hopeless. I made a video on that a couple of days ago. Yeah.
All we can do is keep planting seeds, people.
That's it, my brother. Well, you're right.
Let's talk about flight trackers, Flight Aware and Flight Radar. All right, let's talk about those 2 flight trackers. No flight tracker tracks planes over oceans. All right, those flight trackers get a predestinated route of a plane when it crosses water. If you look at the global flight tracking map, every plane going over water has to arc over. Now, according to CBS News and the Flight Radar and Flight Tracker, the planes have to stagger 80 to 100 miles apart, simply because we can't track anything over water, and so they have to stay in their flight routes. So when flights disappear, a lot of times what that is that they don't, flights have taken off and they don't have the complete route of that plane, and so it will vanish off their flight tracker, flight radar. It's not that they're literally tracking the flight; they can't. It's that they have incomplete data of that route going over the water, so the plane will appear to vanish until it appears somewhere else. And one of the ground-based systems, which is 200 to 300 mile range, pick that flight up. All right, so that is the reason why flights are vanishing on these flight trackers, because we simply can't track anything over water. Not too long ago, we lost a flight over Lake Michigan. They still have not found that plane. That plane vanished over Lake Michigan, and Lake Michigan is not too far apart, but it went outside of both radars on the Michigan side and the Illinois side, and we lost track of it. And so we have found bits and pieces of it washed up somewhere, but we don't know where it went down. And so that's the mystery of why flights vanish on the radar trackers, okay? Because we simply don't have the ability to track them yet. And it's just like NASA said when Engineer Kelly, he said, when Orion crosses the Indian Ocean, we lose contact, okay? I mean, so NASA throws us some hints and tells us what they can track and can't track. And, of course, NASA's tied to the NOAA, which the NOAA is responsible for all the oceanic tracking systems. And an oceanic tracking system is based on flight radar from plane to plane. And so as planes are crossing over, they will bounce radar off of other planes and go to a ground-based system on the other side, like OADPS, which is located in Oakland, California, that tracks all the flights going over the Pacific. There's 541 flights that fly over the Pacific each and every day. And those flights are plotted on a predetermined flight route, but more oftentimes than not, that flight route that's plotted on the flight tracker is not the actual route. If you follow the plane that's hitting each radar tower, you'll notice that the planes have to fly straight up through China and all these points all the way up north, and then they start to arc over back past Alaska to San Francisco. And if you guys remember a few years back where we had that in Taiwan, that baby had to stop in Alaska to have the baby, and that proves the azimuthal equidistance. No, it doesn't prove the azimuthal equidistance. All it proves is that the flight trackers are wrong, as in the predetermined flights they give us, and nothing will pick up that flight until it reaches a ground-based tower radar range. So that's how that works.
Yeah, well, that's a good point, but they definitely aren't making any. The tracks that they're making on the flight tracker is not what they should be doing. I mean, they should be going straight when they're going up. They should be going down when they're going straight. I mean, it doesn't really make much sense at all to me with flight tracker. But that's not the only thing that I explained to them to take a look at. What do you think would be another thing to bring up for somebody who you're trying to talk to about flat Earth?
Well, unfortunately, flights disprove the azimuthal equidistance. I can tell you for a fact that from the QF 2728 routes, and I've talked to Mike Gwynn, who is a real pilot captain of those routes, that the miles are correct. Okay, they do 5 nonstops every week from Sydney to Santiago. But what I can tell them is that we don't have the ability to track planes over water. Planes do have to stagger, okay? So they look like this. That's not the curvature of the Earth, all right? Because those flight routes don't work on a ball globe either, all right? They don't work on the azimuthal equidistance either. Flight routes are not straight unless the flight routes are over land. So if you see all the flight routes over land, like going across the United States or Europe or something, they can travel straight lines simply because we have the radar to keep the flights apart. But over water, they have to be staggered 180 miles. So flights are kind of a bad thing to prove flat Earth. They're kind of a bad thing. Even our world boat races, do not promote the azimuthal equidistance. And we have the Arctic boat races, which are a bit slower, but I think that's because of all the ice you run into. There is a lot of ice, especially in the Indian Ocean and stuff, as you're going across from a certain southern perspective. And so flights are not the best thing. Now, the weird thing is flights in the Pacific, like Fiji and going to New Zealand, South America, have experienced a lot of anomalies. Okay, there are some strange things with that, and as Free Energy fully believes, there's some kind of mirroring or portal system in the Pacific. We know the sun does set and rise again in the Pacific, not all the time, depends on the time of the year, but we've seen these in videos in Fiji, Mexico, and even Alaska and the South Pole. So yeah, it's just interesting. And what I tell people is you can't tell the shape of the Earth by what's flying above. And that's what I tell them when people come on my channel and start hammering me on the Gleason's or the azimuthal equidistance projection. So I hope that's helped a little bit.
Oh yeah, no, it definitely has. I mean, it's just another inquiry that maybe if they do look at it, maybe it'll open up something and they'll look at something else, and then they'll look at something else. And that's what I try to do with all of my videos. Maybe you'll hear something that I say that might interest you, that will get you to look and research. And that's what I do. That's what I try to do with my channel. And I'm, hey, look, everything was made when Admiral Byrd supposedly, I'm not saying it exists. I'm not saying it didn't. I'm not saying he didn't really go down there. But I mean, right around that time, right after WW2, he had a long time. He was down there for 30, 35 years, and I know he had a lot of breaks in between. they definitely found something down there. They found something enough to scare them the hell out of there and run, literally get the hell out of Dodge and pass a treaty and just lock it down. All right, and what it is that they found is my question. You know, is it more land? Or is there an area over there that we don't even know anything about, that are the continents of the size of the U.S. that are all over the place out there? You know, and I always think about it because we would never be able to. I mean, we can't. Supposedly, if this is a 200-foot scale wall of ice that we have to get through, we'll never be able to get anything up there to go investigate. We're going to have to just take our own little 2 feet and walk it. So I wish these guys the best. I really hope they get somewhere. I really do. I'll be watching.
Yeah, South Pole's kind of interesting. We found Bunger Hill. I'm not sure if anybody's familiar with Bunger. Admiral Byrd has the only, well, there's a few other pictures, but Admiral Byrd has the only video really of it. And Bunger Hill is, if you were to go into, not Sydney, what's that big place on the other side of Australia? I can't think of the name of it right now.
Perth, Melbourne.
Perth. Okay, Perth. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
thank you. Perth. Okay, so underneath Perth, okay, and 5 miles, 5 to 10 miles into the South Pole, directly underneath Perth, is an area of lakes that are not frozen, they're freshwater lakes, and the temperature is never below 37 degrees. Contrast to McMurdo, because the temperatures get below zero almost all year round. But we have an area of South Pole that is warm all year round, and it's not volcanic activity. The air will be below zero, and you can have volcanic activity in water to keep it unfrozen, of course. But it's green. There are things growing, and this is what Admiral Byrd showed. And so we have this anomaly in the South Pole, and nobody has ever taken an expedition to this. The Discovery Channel, nobody. And if you read the wiki, and of course we all trusted and believe in the wiki, right? There was just a few expeditions from Britain and Russia have set a camp up there, but they don't give any data about this place. And so we really don't know a whole lot about what's going on in the South Pole. But one thing we do know, and FPV, I believe his name was, remember him, Karen? Yeah, FPV. When all the crap was going on, when the ocean sucked away from Florida, okay, and we saw that a little bit here recently. We saw that a little bit here recently in North Carolina. The oceans pulled away from all the shores, okay?
And came back after a couple, 24 hours later, they'd come back.
Right. So how are the oceans able to do this? Now, recently they said it was because the wind blew the oceans away from North Carolina. That is a bunch of crap.
No way.
Wind is that's what the news media said. Wind blew the oceans off the shores. That is crap. That is wrong. So the wind's blowing the other way and blowing the oceans away from the shores. So all the oceans suck up away from the shores. But last year, when we saw Florida's the 3 supposed hurricanes, a few facts we know about those hurricanes. Number one, none of them were hurricanes. Okay, they only reached tropical storm level, and we know this by the Coast Guard wind data, and we know this by the airport data. All right, so they lied. The news media is lying about this. Even this year, we see CNN going, "Oh, we can hardly stand," and we got guys walking by like ain't nothing but a thing. You know, the people, the locals of North Carolina, catch CNN kneeling in knee-deep water to make it look like it's up to their chest. I mean, we've caught these people lying.
We've caught them time and time again. Sorry, Karen.
So if you noticed it this time, imagine how many other times they'd have been standing there going, "The winds are really strong," and they were lying anyway. Before.
Yeah, lying through their teeth, man.
Can I interrupt you all there?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Well, it's not just the weather they're lying about. Practically all we're seeing on TV is just garbage. I mean,
it's the evil box, my brother.
For one, the program is just programming, but the news is, okay, there are true stories for sure, but most of what we see is just, it's all theater.
Yeah, I agree, 100%.
All the show, man. All the show. Okay, so I made videos on this. Okay, so at this time, around September 21st, 2017, September 21st, 2017, earthquakes hit every single landmass in the Pacific. Nothing on the Atlantic side or on the other half of Earth, all right? But earthquakes, totally 4.0 or higher, those mass. And I'm thinking, my God, we've never seen this before. Mexico was devastated. I think, Karen, we did a show on that. Mexico was devastated by a lot of these earthquakes.
Yeah.
And at the same time, South America and Florida, the ocean is pulling away from the shores. These people lived there for years. They have never seen this. All right, so what FPV noticed by the NOAA radar maps, what he noticed was a wave propagation coming from the McMurdo area. Who's doing their mic thing here?
CT, I think, he's doing a message on his phone. CT, we can hear you.
Okay.
Oh, you can hear me? Sorry about that. I was just doing that right on the up. Yeah. Okay.
So we see a wave propagation from McMurdo. Okay. So remember, the South Pole has two magnetic poles that are producing energy. All right. To create something to power the supposed missile platform that's supposed to register a missile. It looks like a big white ball thing. And many people suspected in 2011 it was responsible for creating earthquakes in Japan. That was a big political deal there because the U.S. got blamed for that. But so to draw in the oceans, we need to create a variable density field. And we know salt water contracts when electricity is applied to it. And so we see this wave propagation coming from McMurdo. All right. And we have the CIA's documents on their studies of scalar waves and zero-point energy sources. And so at the time we're seeing all these things, the ocean suck away from Florida, and the time we're seeing all these earthquakes, we're also tracking by NOAA's own radar map waves coming from McMurdo to a source in the Pacific when these events were occurring. And so we fully believe that they have somehow found out in the South Pole and why it's so protected, that they're able to connect these two magnetic fields into a neodymium magnet and propagate a scalar wave. Now, a scalar wave is not subject to time or distance, and the scalar wave is not actually a wave, it's actually an energy source. And in a scalar wave, we can transmit unlimited energy if it's from a zero-point energy source, and we can transmit data. And so we see this scalar-like wave coming into other places in the Pacific, powering other devices. And this is when we see all these things pulling together. So we fully believe that the South Pole, being two negative poles next to each other, is some source of power or zero-point energy source for the governments, and that is what we asked. And this also explains why they're so protective over the South Pole and why Robert Bassano found those 30 nuclear subs located under the ice near McMurdo. They also have an airfield with jet fighters there. And once again, there's no strategic reason why we would have those there unless it was to protect something that they are wanting to protect, or possibly these people believe that something can come from beneath the ice or on the other side of them. We really don't know.
Yeah, and I think I've thought about things as well. Just it's sort of changing the subject, but it's just linking into this whole thing. Like, my daughter-in-law comes from Lithuania, and in the summer on the Baltic Sea, it's 40-odd degrees up there, and they have 2 months on the beach. How can that be? They're supposed to be a lot more north. Yet they're having 40-degree, really hot summers. It might not last as long as further south, but it's still there. And then you've got like Everest in a really hot place. You've got Obviously, the Alps, okay, in the summer it's not maybe got ice on, but in the winter those things are covered for miles, and they're between two hot countries. So I don't think we understand what we're living in, and Antarctica might be just a bigger version of Everest. There could be something on the other side. Mike and I have seen lots of work over the months, and you know, on one lot of work series, Antarctica is absolutely huge and mountainous and goes on forever. So
Yeah, that's what they. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the pictures that you see.
What it is this whole place we live on. There are hot places and cold places and hot places and cold places. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, the winters here are brutal for 6 months. They've been mild for the last couple of years, but you know, I mean, they're brutal here. You know, we get 3-4 feet of snow sometimes up in upstate New York, not in lower where I live, but upstate New York really gets hammered during the winter.
Buffalo and New York suck during the winter. That is true.
Yeah, no, I mean, even up by the Finger Lakes and everything like that, they get like maybe, I don't know, 2 months of summer, and then it's just miserable weather from there. But I mean, judging from I don't know what the weather forecast is going to be for the winter here on the East Coast, the weather almanac. I mean, you know, judging from how much rain we've been getting during the summertime, whether it's manufactured rain or not, it's nothing unlike anything that I've ever seen over the years. I don't know if you could hear it bouncing off my car right now, but
We have done. Any noise?
Yeah, now it's really pouring. But you know, I mean, if this is usually an indication of the summer like this is a pretty bad winter to come, yeah, now it's pouring rain. Let me mute. I'm gonna have to mute this. But yeah, no, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, we just don't know where we are, you know, and everybody else who doesn't listen to us thinks they know where they are when they're in a fantasy land over there. They're in cartoon land, as far as I'm concerned. At least we have some inclination in that we want to know where the hell we are, and we just can't seem to figure it out because everywhere is just militarized. You know, they won't let us go anywhere at all. You know, Elmer Bird has. I mean, these pictures, you look at them. You know, these are definitely authentic pictures. You know, I mean, they're not bullshit. He definitely found something, whether it be more land or whatever. But yeah, when you see warm springs like that in areas and it's not volcanic, and it's in the middle of an area that should be just miles and miles of frozen ice, you know, and none of the mainstream media will ever report about that because they're own too. You know, it's just like we were talking about. Everything is a lie on TV. It's a freaking evil box. I hate it. I wish I could throw it out. Unfortunately, I need it for work. I have to watch it, flip it on every once in a while.
Yeah. Bunger Hill is a place, and I have Google images of it before Google Earth decided to hide them. I grabbed them, but it's a place. It's a real place, and it's warm there all year round when it shouldn't be. So you know, there's a lot they're hiding and not telling us.
Everybody that half of Antarctica you could live on.
Definitely, absolutely, I agree. I know you can. You know, they can set up condominiums up there, down there. I'm sure people will move right in. If you build it, they'll move. You know, but no, you'll never hear about that. They just want us to think that this thing is just covered with miles of ice and unapproachable and somewhere you'll never want to go. There's nothing living, and you know.
Can I interrupt again? But for part of the conversation, this Antarctica and what have we, when is it going to be? When does it end? This agreement that they signed so many years ago, when does that end? The people that signed it are probably all dead now.
I think it's 2040 or something.
Yeah, it's soon, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's coming up. They have to do something in the next 20 years, but you'll never hear about it.
You know, I think maybe we should make some sort of a, hey, listen, I think you should look into the Antarctic Agreement, rip it up, make a new one saying that, hey, if you want to go and explore. Seriously.
We can't.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, again, case in point. Look, I don't know what's down there. I don't know what the governments are doing down there. I have no idea. I don't know what they found. They definitely either found something, or again, maybe they had something up there that's controlling it. I didn't see those waters on the East Coast go up like that. I haven't seen a video of that, but I have seen them happen in other countries. I've seen videos of that, and that's not natural. That's something that's being controlled, definitely. And it's not a tsunami coming in. Don't give me that horse shit. So, something else is definitely causing that. And I know there's free energy. I mean, the creator created this. He didn't expect us to have telephone poles all over the place and paying for energy. I mean, this whole area is created for us. It's a self-sustained unit. And it's there. We just got to be able to find it. We just have been programmed not to. And, that's the way I feel about it.
All I got to say about that, I feel you, man. I feel you. Yeah, there's a lot that they can do. Right now, they are going to screw up our magnetic field. And that's the big concern. You can only monkey around so much with it. And we're going to experience unnatural weather patterns. Not tsunamis. Tsunamis are caused by tectonic plate shifts. But waves created off our magnetic vortices. What a lot of people don't realize is we have magnetic vortices in the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere. And in the northern hemisphere, they spin counterclockwise. In the southern, they spin clockwise. Okay, this causes the rotational spin of hurricanes because our magnetic field is electromagnetic. All storms are ionic or electromagnetic, and this is what starts the spin of the hurricane. It's not due to Coriolis effect. But we're monkeying around with this stuff. This is why in Florida, they had a big, and I showed this live here before, Karen, a big magnetic anomaly over Hawaii. And when the compasses flipped over, this big magnetic anomaly over Hawaii, that's simply because those vortices start spinning the wrong way and build up a huge amount of electrostatic charge, which created ball lightning. That lightning found its way into the ground. In the ground, it causes pressure. Pressure caused the lava, the tubes in the lava to start flowing out. And then we see all these photographs of this lava coming out with lightning coming down from the sky. And so I fully believe that is something that we're screwing up. We're messing up Earth's electromagnetic field and the way Earth naturally gave us rain and gave us seasons. And so I fully expect things coming in the future that we actually didn't do, but it's simply a cause and effect of all the spraying up there. Like I said,
that's something and changing something, hasn't it?
Yeah, like I said, chromium, I don't know why they're spraying that. The only thing you can do with chromium is create a very powerful magnetic field. And in that magnetic field, you can direct that magnetic field to do what you want, move water, move wind, whatever. So I don't know why. That'd be the only reason I know they're spraying chromium. I know why they're spraying barium. It's simply because to keep the frequencies from conflicting with each other on our cell phone towers.
You can use it for what with water? Can you just repeat that again, please? What it said? The chromium.
Well, you can use chromium. If you heat it up to 38 degrees Celsius, it creates a magnetic field. And if you look at all our weather control documents, which they have patents for, you can read what they do and how they do it.
I've got loads of files on that stuff, believe me, yeah.
Yeah,
so what they can do then is they can move the rain about, can't they? They can move the rain and...
Exactly. Move wind, move water, ocean. But we're not talking about a little bit of ocean. When you create through a magnetic field, through electricity and electromagnetism, a variable density field in that water, and that salt water starts to all come together and contract, you can direct all that mass, okay, into something else and get it rotating the way you want it, all right? And so that's what chromium is good for. It's good. It's good for creating AIM, which AIM is just atmospheric lensing to bounce magnetic waves off or microwaves off, so like HARP operates. You can do all kinds of stuff with chromium. So what the aluminum for, I don't know. I have not found a good reason for aluminum or that other metal particulate that was mentioned. But yeah, you're absolutely right with this stuff.
And and with the hurricanes going counterclockwise or clockwise, when they go up, through Florida up to North Carolina and then up to New York, I mean, they're usually going clockwise. I know Hurricane Sandy hit here about 5 years ago, I think, and I mean, when you see these storms, they don't look anything like what you see on the Weather Channel. It's just clouds, lots of wind, lots of rain, a massive amount of rain. I mean, North Carolina, got hit? Excuse me, for 25 inches of rain. I mean, you just can imagine how much moisture these clouds are holding. It really is incredible. Here we got hit with, probably about 5 inches of rain, which was devastating. Every single highway. I mean, this storm that we're in right now is only really getting 1.5 inches of rain, and half the arteries around here in terms of highways are closed down. Bronx River Parkway shut down, Henry Hudson shut down, Sawmill is closed. I got here using the Springbrook Parkway, and that's kind of flat and level, but it's got some hills in it. But I mean, yeah, I mean, if they are able to turn it a different way and make it go counterclockwise, what does that do? To the weather naturally. It probably brings more wind and more rain. But I know they don't look anything like what we're seeing on these. We know there's no satellites up there, so they definitely don't look like that at all. I'm sure they're not as fierce. They never hit the way they say they're going to hit. They do damage, though. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of wind with these things. All you need is 60, 70 mile per hour winds here in New York with these 100-foot trees, and they're going to fall down. And we call them widow makers. Basically, that's what these trees are.
Right. Well, when you spin magnetic, when you spin them in the wrong way, remember you got other magnetic vortices right next to it that are spinning the opposite way. So you got energy spinning counter from the other ones on the outside. So you're going to cause what? Because a lot of friction and static electricity. And this is what we saw over Hawaii. And so once that builds up, when those start to build up, they start pulling things into themselves. And then where does lightning go? Well, the place of least resistance is going to start coming into the ground. And so every time we see earthquakes, we see what? We see lightning. Every time we see volcanic activity, we see lightning. Because is based through our electromagnetic field above. All right. This is why when California had all those earthquakes last year, there's nothing but flash after flash of lightning, simply because of all the plasma being distributed. And so this is what they're monkeying around with. And eventually, I believe they're going to break something to where, they're going to say, oh, heck, we can't counter this or fix this.
That's a scary thought. That certainly is a scary thought. Who knows what they're up to? They've got so much money. They got unlimited resources, and they're taking out of our paycheck. So, when you have that, and it's a dangerous cocktail mix, I can tell you. So, there's no doubt in my mind that they're screwing around with something up there. Absolutely, I agree.
Right. And, I want to play not the devil's advocate, but maybe on their side. These weather control devices were originally designed to protect populace from potential damaging winds and weather. And so, maybe they're seeing a form, and so they get their weather machines ramped up to reverse it or at least minimize the damages. And this is why we're seeing the oceans get sucked away, because, the hurricane needs all that force and all that water. And so if they're able to pull everything in and localize and contain it, the problem with that is it's not natural, and they're causing other things that other people should not be experiencing, like flooding, and other places. Just 2 weeks ago, we had 11 states that had flooding, which was totally crazy, you know. So I think they're causing other things as a result of, if they're on the good guy side, trying to stop or at least limit some of the destructive forces of these storms. And once again, we don't know. We want to believe that the government is still on our side and not planning to kill people. And we want to believe that the 5G towers are just oversight due to all the money and telecommunications, and the big guys on top want this, and that they're really not thinking about it. We want to believe that. But ultimately, what we're seeing is a lot of unnatural things that should not be occurring. And when you start seeing the unnatural, that's when we get into messes further down the road that we may not be able to stop or even reverse. And that's my concern.
Well, yeah, it's just like putting Band-Aids on things, and that's what they're doing. The one thing I want everybody to do, the next big storm that comes in, we have these towers with the globes on them. They're not cell phone towers. These are weather, towers, and they have these huge globes, and they're located. There's probably, if you look on Google Map, you'll be able to zoom in on them. The way to find them is when a big storm's around, and I'm not sure if it's a glitch in the system or something, but when a big rain cloud, I follow the radar a lot while I'm driving, and what I've noticed is when, shit, am I still on, or did I get bumped off here? I don't know. I guess I'm still on.
Oh shit! Nice one, CC.
No, you're okay.
I'm still on. Or maybe somebody else dropped out. Okay.
You're good.
Okay.
Let's do it again.
Oh, there he is. Okay. Yeah, no, I got kicked off before too. I don't know. Google's screwing around.
I just switched over to my phone.
Oh, all right. I want to switch on my computer. Anyway, so when these rainstorms come in, and you see the radar, the regular radar, not the cloud radar, but the rain radar, and that area is covered with red spots and big blobs of rain coming in. If you look real close, you take Google, you take the app, and if you know where to look, you'll see it. There'll be a little circle. It never gets covered. And then when you zoom in further and further and further, it's this weather tower, and it's clear. I just think it's a glitch in the system. Obviously, it's not clear around that one area, but I've noticed that, and I'm gonna probably, I'll make a video of it or something. Takes pictures of this. It only, you can only really see them. So that we have right in New York here, we probably have about 6 or 7 of these weather towers, and I found out where they are, and I've wanted to see what they look like. And when you pass them, they're very tall. They're almost as tall as these cell phone towers, and it's just this kind of white block that goes up with this huge ball that goes around that's silver. And they claim those are weather stations, and that's how they monitor the rain and whatever. I really don't know what the hell those things are, but but I've noticed that. So if it ever rains and you have the radar thing and big green is coming over your area, you zoom in, you'll be able to find out where you have them in your area. I know they're all over the country, I'm sure, at least in the US.
It just goes to prove that if there are weather satellites like the Ghost 13 above us, we don't need 7 weather towers 50 miles apart from each other in New York or anywhere else, right?
No, absolutely not. Because these things don't exist up there. We don't need these cell phone towers. It should be all satellite telephone.
Absolutely.
It's all there. It's screaming out for people to find. The creator created this for us to find. But not only that, all the big companies have just put their foot in their mouth with everything that they say every day, that they claim that they put all these satellites up there when we still can't see one of them.
No.
Look at the moon. So, oh yeah, they're too far up there. They look like peas. Yeah, well, I could see the, people zoom in on the ISS, right? And that's only 2 football fields large, and you can, come on. And that's 270 miles up there. It's just a joke. It really is. Just scream.
Yeah, actually, the ISS is 1 football field, but the ISS turns sideways.
No, that's true. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
That big. And all our, the ISS transit tracker was just recently. NASA had to come up with something to counter what we're doing. We're destroying NASA piece by piece. And and here's the thing, we believe it's a projected image, but even so, it wouldn't take much to project an image from 400 miles away across the surface of the projected moon. It wouldn't take nothing at all. But we're also seeing ISS images from non-projected surfaces on top of the moon and sun. And we see the ISS much bigger, so even the size variance, they got that all screwed up. Okay, none of their sciences or fakery is ever consistent, and so we know that. But also, when we want to check whether the NOAA, I want everybody listen to this in buoys, and when you Google that, you're going to find hundreds and hundreds all over the oceans, the Pacific, the Atlantic, the Indian Ocean. You're going to find these weather buoys out there. Not only do they have weather radar, but they also broadcast internet and GPS coordinates. Okay? They're all over the oceans. They're all over the freaking place. A lot of globe earthers will say, well, how do I get GPS in my boat in the ocean? Well, because there's a weather buoy out there somewhere. And here's another thing about GPS. We don't need 3 points to triangulate, because you only need 2 points. Okay? And when those 2 points meet on your GPS map, keep that in mind. All right, so mystery solved.
Sorry, you broke
Guess I'm done.
a
Go
little
on.
bit there. Could you say that again, Mike?
Yeah, you broke up
Say
a little
what
bit.
part again? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. I
It's not
have to
your
talk to
fault.
my internet.
It's not
Talk
your
to my
fault.
internet provider why I'm paying for this high-speed internet, and I broke up. Well, all I'm saying is that you only need 2 points to triangulate a GPS signal, because just like planes can travel, and even though they lose contact with, they can still try by airspeed and things. They can still pretty much accurately pinpoint where you're at. Even car GPSs, when you lose GPS, will still fairly actually pinpoint where you're at. They don't need the elevation, because the elevation's already given on the map you're driving on. All they need is those 2 points to get the X or Y or X or Z or whatever coordinates. So that's the only thing I was saying.
Oh, but I thought I saw on Star Trek that they actually really do need 3 points in order to accurately get a GPS.
On Star Trek, yeah, more than likely they need 3 points.
No.
Trek.
That's interesting. You should bring up the GPS, because I use GPS all the time.
Right.
And yeah, when it cuts out, it still has me going. It has me going on the right road. It has me going, and it has me moving on there. I know it's an app and it's a continuous, program that's going. And but yeah, you don't need 3 spots in order to accurately get your GPS.
No, you don't.
You definitely don't. And that's where I've gotten that too, out in the ocean, because I like to fish, and I'm not out in the ocean with my boat. It's a freshwater lake boat. But I get that from people too, where they bring up is like, well, how am I seeing my GPS work on my boat? And I'm like, it's not satellites that are tracking you. I mean, they have this. They have these buoys that are out there, and they're all over the place. You might not see them, but they're there. And you can, again, thanks for mentioning that website. Go on to that, and you'll see them. They're all over there. They give you weather, temperature of the water. They give you even an accurate reading of the waves, that are coming in.
Musicians for Truth, CC. He was telling us last night that he's downloaded an app which tells him where all the stars are.
Yeah, and they're all over the place. They're all over the Pacific Ocean, all up and down. Everywhere. That's what they use. There's not using anything up there.
Weather buoys by the NOAA, which happens to be connected to who? NASA.
There you go, NASA, my friend.
Keep in mind, NASA. NASA does not spend the $25 million from us on faking space. Okay, They are a government entity. They are doing other nefarious things, and hopefully they're creating gigantic robots, Katy Perry clones, portals to hell. Hopefully my tax money is going into some really cool science, okay, besides faking the ISS transit and faking ISS live feeds through telemetrics and Microsoft HoloLens, okay? I'm hoping my money is not being wasted, so.
Oh, you bet it's not at all. It's being well spent on some nonsense that we'll never find out about. Well, we will, I'm sure, but for now, we won't know now. But no, with all that money, who knows what they're doing? But the thing I like about NASA is they're so inconsistent with everything they do. They leave all the Easter eggs around. They screw up with all the live feeds, and that's why they don't do them a lot.
You see, very quickly, because I forgot it, and then I've remembered it again. Mike knows that he's seen 100 years of moon rises. Whose name was on that one then? Bet you it was NASA again.
I'm sorry, Karen. 100 years of what?
Moon rises. Mike's seen data for 100 years of moon rises, so I bet you NASA gave that as well.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Then I come on, but you know, it's crazy. I mean, I've just seen hundreds of videos of just the sun and the moon, and that's why it always bothers me. You know, to find out that this thing isn't a tangible object up there. You know, to find out what that
it is a bit of a shock, isn't it? To find out that everything's a lie. But Mike, it's true, isn't it? Did it come from NASA then? The 100-year moon rises.
Not sure what you're talking about, Karen, but yeah, NASA, they lie about everything. But here's the thing about NASA. They're not lying about everything. They don't lie. Actually, they don't lie. You can go into the NASA archives and find out where they filmed the moon landings, just short of Flagstaff, Arizona. All right. You can find out how they did it through the Lolo model moon system, okay, which was 4 models of the moon. It's not like they're hiding information. Even when we contacted Archer Sage and we contacted Rob Simmon, you know, the Photoshop It Has to Be guy. We talked to him, and he told us how the Himurari 8 and the Russian Titan and the Epic Discover show their images. He gave us the FTP sites to Russia and Japan. He told us how he picks predictions. These folks, it's not like they're lying, okay? They're not. It is so strange. What they realize is that through the CIA experiments of the past, they understand that indoctrination keeps people from being critical of what against the thing that's indoctrinated them. They know this. And even recently, we have companies like making fun of NASA. Okay, what was it? The Toyota. They were making fun of NASA being on Mars. Yeah, they're making fun of NASA.
You are absolutely right. I'm sorry to cut you off, but yes, you are right. In a sense, they're not lying to us because this is what the people expect. This, all right, and that's what they're just feeding the indoctrination level. So technically, yeah, no, you're right. They are not lying to us because they've got to put a show on.
They don't have to hide anything because nobody's good. Most people won't even look into it.
Yeah. Whatever is there, it's true. Whatever I say is true, and that should be NASA's logo. That really should be.
Yeah, but they're not lying. What you choose to be deceived. Okay, it's not that they are lying, but you choose to be deceived. That's the whole thing. You know, even NASA when they float the guy by on wires. You know, okay. And we see them messing up with their virtual reality HoloLens. You know, it's Microsoft technology. And the guy flipping his hat and he's looking for it and it's not there because he's looking on the screen, the hat's there. But NASA screwed that up and they forgot to mask the live feed of the guy flying by on the wires. It would take NASA 5 minutes. It would take me 5 minutes of a video editing program. But they leave the Arctic lemming, okay, on Devon Island, okay, in their Mars archive simply because they know people are going to say it's a rock. Rocks don't have eyeballs, legs, and tails, people. Okay, they just don't. But they leave it in there, it's like they know that the 1% of us that actually see it are not going to unconvince the the 1% is not going to the 10% is not going to unconvince the 90%, and so it's all a psychology mind screw. That's all it is. But NASA's not lying to us. They are very blatant. Even how they find life on planets. If you watch their videos, well, we see this color dot, we see this color dot, we know this color frequency is that color frequency. So we have the possibility of life because they're of a certain color. You guys are out of your mind. How can you're looking at color dots and telling me that proves there's life on planets? And they go, yep. And people believe that crap. I mean, they just like, You know, even with Adam in Mythbusters, you know, Adam goes into the observatory and the ladies go, we're going to bounce a laser off the moon. All right. And said, Adam's like, yeah, cool. Yeah. He sells the whole thing. He's like, yeah. And so this woman goes in, comes back with a slip of paper, hands it to Adam. See those numbers there? See those numbers there? Yeah. We bounced a and it came back to our observatory. Folks, it takes light, a laser light, 2.5 minutes to travel from Earth to the moon. And that time, with the motion of the moon and the movement of the Earth, the Earth would have moved away from that laser point 900 miles. All right? They're not bouncing crap off the moon and reading anything. It's impossible according to their model. And Adam goes, wow, that's the data, the moon. And the woman's like, yeah. And Adam's like, that is amazing. And people watching it just eat this crap up without any questioning. But you and I and those listening to us, we question their science.
Of course. Yeah, absolutely. That's really funny, though, because people don't even think about that. They don't even think about how fast this supposed moon is moving. And in terms of the ratio.
We're a revolving ball.
Yeah, I know. They don't put those two together. They don't put that I mean, just zoom in on it. I have. I mean, it's very difficult to even get a good shot if you don't have a tripod. Forget about a 900 or a P1000, because this thing is moving so quickly through the sky, and you're going to tell me a laser is going to hit that. And in terms of what we've been taught when we were kids, they're out of their minds. But yet they put it on there.
Everything else is spinning, but the moment you see them exposing the space, they're still. They're not really moving at all. But then I've got videos of paused astronauts. They're touching the ISS, and it looks like a piece of material. And then the other day, by accident, the glitch. So they actually, you can see he looks to make sure he doesn't go behind that line with the green screen.
Yep.
And then Bry, who come there, he is. He's in our chat room. He made a story for us about the ketchup bottle.
All of
and
that.
So it's wow.
It's just all junk. It's all junk to keep you busy. Things rather than who you really are and where we really are. Honestly, seriously, NASA is just a flipping cartoon on TV. That's all it is. They're just showing us shit they want to believe in.
Exactly.
And everyone is just so distracted by it. You're wasting your time on NASA. I mean, that's just a puzzle to keep us guessing. Yeah, you've got to look at the sun. You've got to look at the moon. You've got to observe the stars. What are they doing? What are they doing? And if you stand in the same position every day, every night, and look at what they're doing, you'll see what they're doing. And we can figure this out. We can figure this out because we just need to have more people. We need to be unified to figure it out, because believe me, this is simple. Watch the sun, watch the moon. What are they doing? And if we're all taking pictures, we'll figure it out. But we have to be many people to figure it out, because then we can make a big model of it. We can model this.
It's supposed to be a scientific thing. It never actually shoots the sun, does it really? We've got hours and hours of the sun going past and 17 times a day. They don't show us that, do they?
No, hold on. I got to make a correction. It's 2.5 seconds. supposedly that light would bounce off the moon. So I just wanted to make that correction. I think I said that wrong. So,
Yeah, no,
but it doesn't matter. It's not going to happen.
It's
It
not
doesn't
going to
matter.
happen. No,
It's not gonna happen.
I was in a question on that too, because I know it takes
It's
8
still
About lasers and dispersion. We saw that with the FE core group, right? That was a big problem they had. So if you're going to shoot a laser that's going to reach 239,000 miles, it would be like the Death Star, man. That type of laser you'd have to use. It'd be like, I mean, everybody would see it. To have a laser that powerful and to bounce back off a tiny little bicycle reflector back to Earth, it's just totally ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. Now, they said they were doing that prior to putting that plate on the moon, on the moon landing or whatever, Apollo 17, I think it was. They said they were doing laser bounces prior to that, prior to 69. So, but they had to put the plate on there to bounce a laser off of it, so that doesn't make sense.
Laser bounce, Apollo 10. Laser bounces from what?
Around in the background of you. Just make sure it's not copyrighted music. Sorry, I just had to say.
Yeah, copyright music will close it down. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was nice music. Don't get me. Well, I'm more of a Sabbath, Led Zeppelin, Metallica fan, but it's still nice music.
Sorry, I'm at a restaurant.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So tell them to shut that crap off.
They pay to ASCAP.
Shut that crap off. Shut it off.
They pay to ASCAP. All pay a little fee to ASCAP when they're playing the radios.
But like I said, it'd be like the Death Star. Lasers that are bouncing off rocks prior to that. The moon's not supposedly a reflective surface. Now, I saw a YouTube video where one guy was saying, "Well, the little pebbles on their moon, they're glass." Well, I've never heard that before. This guy is trying to protect his sun reflecting off the moon heliocentric model. Okay, the guy was full of crap. The moon is supposedly a freaking rock. All right, and you're not bouncing light off a rock. Okay, rock has almost zero reflective. So that's all I got to say.
Yeah, can I jump in? I was going to say, sorry, I got cut off a phone call, but I remember they did an interview with this guy. I forget where he's located, and he's like, if anybody this was years ago when I saw this, that the NASA faked the moon landing. Just come up here. I can show you I could show you they put something up there, and we can reflect something off of it, and you'll see it bounce back. And and he said that once, and I have never, ever seen anybody go up there and question it. Maybe we should do that. Maybe we should go up there and check it out. That's something we can do. It won't cost any money. I'm assuming his place is probably, I don't know, maybe Hawaii. Maybe that's where he's located. I don't know. I'll find it out right now, actually.
Yeah, thank you, Trillion. Appreciate the heads up there. Can we bounce a light off a projected image? Well, NASA's projecting an ISS across there, that's an interesting question, and maybe that's something. Even though we know it's not what they say it is, maybe that's something we should try ourselves. That's a good thing. Maybe that's a good question if we can do that or not.
I don't know. I don't know what it takes, what type of powerful laser this guy has. I'm sure it's something that cost about $50,000 or some ridiculous amount of money that none of us can actually go out and get. But, then why can't we just bounce something off of there? If there's something up there that's reflecting, because there's not a single picture I've ever seen of any of that stuff on the moon. It just doesn't, they can't produce it because it never happened. So, I mean, these enormous telescopes, the Hubble telescope, you're telling me a Hubble telescope with all that money and all that zoom, they can zoom in on something that's 50 trillion miles or whatever, 50 billion miles away. And then you can't produce a picture of the whole scene of Apollo 11. Why can't we see that?
But it is trillions of miles. The
It
closest
is.
star is 24 trillion. Okay, 24
24 trillion. There you go. Okay, thank you.
So let me ask you: Are we going to see a star?
That's
24 trillion.
24 trillion. Who
Yeah,
came up with that number? I mean,
Yeah, are we going to
seriously.
see something that far away?
That's the number. That's the closest. That's the closest one now, people.
Those are
Come
the
on.
close ones.
Okay,
Those are
okay.
close ones. Okay.
Yeah.
Can I just ask if there's anyone in the chat who's relatively, good at mathematics? How did they come up with 24 trillion light years away or whatever it is, miles away? I mean, seriously, it's just,
Miles. It's
you know
24
what?
trillion miles, and it.
We can't even imagine a billion. You can't fathom what a billion is. You couldn't, So 24 trillion. I mean, this is, it's one of those, isn't it? We're just fooling you. We're just tricking you. It's a con. It's a big con. Trillion, trillion, gazillion. Yeah.
They can make whatever number they want. I mean, and people will eat it up. Whatever, quadrillion. That's fine. Yeah. Well, I mean, they claim we're 95% right now of finding out the entire universe, and we can actually almost be able to get to the Big Bang. When it was all created, and they mentioned that several times. I mean, they just put it out. I mean, really, they say the Andromeda galaxy is going to collide with our galaxy. People will buy that.
Can I just interrupt you there? What was it Michio Kaku said about them as physicists and scientists? They're out.
Oh, I hate that
they're
guy.
out by a factor of 120 or something to a power of 100. It's like, man, it's incredible. They're far wrong. They're so far out. And we're just like, well, yeah, we trust science and all. But bloody hell, man, we shouldn't be trusting. It's just fake. It's all fake. Science is just another word for another kind of religion that people are religiously following, but it's not even anything good. It's just junk. It all just doesn't match up, does it?
That is awesome. That is awesome. You mentioned Michio Kaku, because before you said that, I was thinking of what he said, and you quoted exactly what I was thinking what he said. According to our observation and the theory, our observations, theory of relativity, quantum theory, do not match at all the observation, and we are off by to the theory. That I was thinking the exact same quote that you just quoted.
You broke up just a tiny bit again then. I think it's just the whole of this hangout is like that. I thought it was my internet to start with, but Astral does it. I don't know. And we can hear it. It just, but you've got storms in America. Maybe that's why.
No, I get it on every hangout. It's just this is like digital feedback that comes back, and I mean, Hangouts is a great. Hey, look, I'm talking to you guys, and you are all over the world. So it's incredible.
In some senses, it is a great thing because it's how we communicate, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the only way I can communicate with you guys. It sucks.
Can you remember? Can you remember years ago when we were children? Well, we're all still children in my eyes. We had cans with string, and we could go into another room if it was far away, but just keep it so it was tight enough. You'd have
Cans
to go
with string, baby.
Exactly, yeah.
I remember that.
Talking over distance, and we loved it. We
loved it, man. My niece, I did that, ago with my niece. She just loved it.
Again, but our strings are wires, and our, when we can peek through and see your brother in the other room or whatever, we're now on screen, aren't we? We're on screen. So it's the same shit, man. Different day, that's all.
So awesome, man. It's amazing. We got good technology. If we use it for good, good things will happen to us, man. And good things will come our way, man. If we use it for bad, I believe you put out good, you get good. If you put out bad, you'll get bad, man. It's real simple. It's not complicated.
Yeah, well said. Well said, yeah.
All right, folks, I got to get running, and it's been a pleasure talking to Eric. I think we got a lot of good information out there. So,
thank you, Mike.
With a lot of international
CC.
Thank you, Mike. It
Karen.
was nice talking to you.
It's been
Yeah,
a
thank you,
pleasure
guys.
to all of you. So,
Yeah.
God bless.
Good lot of information with you, Mike.
All right, thank you. God bless. I've been teaching scriptures and stuff.
Bless
If
you,
anybody's interested in that, thank
Bless you,
you.
brother.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
thanks.
sir. Thank you. God bless.
Absolutely.
All
Great talking to you.
right. Bye-bye, everybody.
Okay, Mike.
God bless, Mike.
Hey, we're left with you, Cece.
Unfortunately, I got to start cooking. I just got home and
We have been going for just over a couple of hours. I mean, sometimes we have much longer hangouts. So, I mean, we can end now. That's okay because it's been a couple of hours. But it's always nice talking with you, Cece. And Mike's always
Karen,
got masses of
I always enjoy coming on here.
CC, you don't have to start
Yeah.
cooking. You know, you can survive like over 30 days without eating. Come on, brother.
I hear you, brother. I do. I got to keep my fat belly up, though. Come on. My belly needs some food.
You crazy Italian, you.
Hey, I like my food. I like the.
Anyway, with this talk that we've had today, we are hopefully back on tomorrow with Des Walsh, is going supposedly to the Edge. So we should have an update or whatever he can tell us tomorrow. So we don't usually come on a Wednesday, but we're coming on for a short time. Yeah, anyway, thank you so much to Astral. Patricia, are you there? Flat Earth Dude and his pint.
Yes.
And Mike Helmick. So it's been a really great time. We've had a really great talk, and thanks for joining us, CC. And
thank you for having me. I enjoy everybody here.
Yeah. Thanks, CC.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on. Getting me.
Back tomorrow, hopefully with Des. Anyway, thank you everybody in the chat room, mwah, and mwah to our panel. So hopefully see you tomorrow.
And thank you too, Karen.
All right. Cheers, everyone. Cheers.
Absolutely.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.